Hi. So here I will do a little tutorial to answer some of the questions that I got from some of you guys. So let me make a box first. The main box. So this is a box that I will use as a test space. And okay, I will make 10 by 10 for X, Y, and Z 3.5. So this is the room that I want to test. And as I did always, I will make a room from solid. Takes a while. Why? Okay, so I will use the box geometry to make the room solid. And so this is the room. And you can also put programs for the room and then use the construction set. But you can also do the the window by ratio. So let's put 0.4 just to test the baseline. And here, what you can do is so here what I want to try to show is how you can change the reflectance of the indoor spaces. So here you need to bring up the, where is it, honeybee radiance, and then go to opaque modifier, so that within the construction set there will be some default values, but you can also use the modifiers that will change the properties of the surfaces. So here you have the modifier, and let's say the reflectance rate is 80%, and you can put 0.8 for the reflectance, and this modifier can go into the room or the model so that it will be reflected in the simulation. Then where do you put the modifier is something you may have a question. So here we need modifiers, and here in the assignment I said we may change the reflectance rate for the ceiling, floor, and walls. So then you will use the interior modifier subset. Let's assume that we change the ceiling's reflectance rate to 80%. And here you can use this data flow to change the properties of the room. And you also need another thing to collect all the modifiers, because there are a lot of modifiers for exterior, interior, and shades and subsurface, subface. So then you need to bring all these 4 modifiers into here, modifier sets. So we used interior set, so you can put it over here. If you change the exterior subset or subface, you can use other input. And then you can use this one into the room solid. So then in the room, the reflectance of the ceiling will be 0.8. So this is how you change the rooms like properties, but what if you have multiple rooms? Then like, and you may want to use this modifier for multiple rooms. Then you can also use like apply, let's find apply modifier set instead of like bringing this one into the solid room. You can like bring this one over here and then use this room and just bring this one into the like data flow. Just bring this one, but the result will be the same, so that you can decide like which one you do use. But I recommend to use your like grasshopper definition simple as possible, so that of course this is like just practice, so it won't be too complicated. But like if your model gets really complicated, always it's better to make your definitions like clear and simple. So this is like how you change the reflectance rate. And you can, as I said, you can also use the apply modifier component. Apply this one if you want. It depends on like what kind of thing you're doing. So I'll make a group for this here. And then I also got a question about like how you enable the natural ventilation. So for the natural ventilation, you need to open the windows. So you can like simply use like toggle and make the apertures that you created this component like operable, meaning that you can open the windows, but then like you don't know when you want to open the windows or not, then you may have little idea what the effect of the natural ventilation is. So let's make it false for now. And so there is a component about the window opening in the Honeybee Energy. And if you go to loads, there is a component for like window openings. And here, like you can set some like more variables that are related to ventilation. And maybe you can bring this honeybee object here. And let's see. So this is the first input, and second input is ventilation control component. So ventilation component, control component. Let's try to find one somewhere. I think. Okay, I think this one is okay. Ventilation control component. This is also under the load. And so this is the input for the next component. But then like let's look at the values. Like so this one is like ventilation control component, and this one will create a ventilation control object to dictate the temperature set points and schedule for ventilative cooling, for example opening windows. So note that all of the default set points of this component are set to always perform ventilative like cooling, such that one can individually decide which set points are relevant to given ventilation strategy. So here, if you look at the inputs, there are like minimum temperature indoor, maximum temperature indoor, like minimum temperature outdoor, maximum temperature outdoor, and also there is a schedule. So if you want to run really like sophisticated like simulation, then you can run simulation about the like indoor temperature, and then compare that with the outdoor temperature, and then see when you want to open the window to enhance the cooling effect of natural ventilation. So here you can make like the schedule, or you can also set up some like temperature minimum and maximum. So for now, the minimum is like minus 100 and the maximum is 100 by default. And I think it's the same. And I believe that like with this default setting, it means no window opening. So then you can set up like, I want to open the window like if the indoor temperature is like above 24. And I may not open the window if the outdoor temperature is above like 28. So this is just an example, but you can also manipulate the numbers depending on your climate. You will look at the like climate of your area and decide like what are the minimum and maximum for the indoor and outdoor temperature. You can also like set up the schedule, but I will skip this since like I already covered how you create schedules, and we may not create like the special schedule for this one for this assignment because that can be too complicated. But then why do we get the error over here? Then let's look at the error message. And this is saying no operable apertures were found among the connected rooms. Make sure that you have set the is operable property of the apertures to true. So meaning that you need to set this one to true if you wanna like manipulate this component. So if you don't make it true, then it will give you an error, meaning that you cannot open the window. So there are some other components that you can use. So for if you go to Honeybee and let's find other aperture components like Honeybee apertures, or this is what we used, but like Honeybee aperture or like Honeybee skylight by ratio. And I think also for the subface, no, not this one, but like subface, subface subsets. That's another component that I'm looking for. Okay, this one, like subface subset under the basic properties of Honeybee energy. So if you look at these components, they all have operable as their input. So like these can be also used to be like in the workflow, but if you use like natural ventilation, but for this assignment, like it's more convenient to use this component, so we will just stick to this one. And then so I will make another group over here, and here there is one thing I want to point out is the window cross ventilation. So there are kinds of ventilation like stack effect like stack ventilation, which will use the buoyancy of the airflow as the driver of the like natural ventilation. But I think for this assignment, we don't have that much like variation in like elevation. So here, I guess like most of you guys can use like this component. So like if you look at the description, blink to indicate if there is an opening of roughly equal area on the opposite side of the room, such that wind-driven cross-ventilation will be induced. If false, the assumption is that the operable area is primarily on one side of the rooms and there is no wind-driven ventilation. If known, the normal vectors of the operable apertures of the input rooms will be analyzed. If like window normals of a given room are found to have an angle difference greater than 90 degrees, cross ventilation will be set to true. Otherwise, it will be false. This means like if you have some windows that are like facing to each other or that is perpendicular to each other, then we can assume that cross ventilation is happening there. So we can use like toggle and set true. So you can use this component to let your honeybee model that you're using the natural ventilation. And I believe like, so at the end, we can bring the honeybee model here so that these are how you change the like interior wall like properties such as the reflectance, and this is how you like manipulate the like natural ventilation inputs, and of course you need to make this one true for operable. And these are some other components that you can use, and this is another way you can use the modifier in any case you need that. So I think this is why I got questions, so that I just made this one here. So this is how you change the reflectance of the window. And not the window, but for interior surfaces. And this is how you enable the natural ventilation, including this one. So this is, I hope this answered your question. And there is another thing I wanted to find out. So let's go and save this one. So I will upload this tutorial file, and let me also open document that is for the assignment 10. So like for the assignment 10, like there were some samples that are used, and some of you guys were confused, like so how do I pick the distribution numbers? So I think like actually there are like a lot of ways that you can pick some numbers, like random numbers from like Gaussian distribution. For example, you can also use like Excels or any other like statistical analysis programs, but here I'm sharing some components that you can use to pick some like random 100 numbers out of the Gaussian distribution. And here, what you need to do is like you need to change the values, and you need to change the values to make sure that you are getting the right output. And I will also share this file. I will upload it into the assignment description. So this is what you can use for assignment 10 part 3. But this is I think like in the lecture we talked about it, and then we said maybe we can just make the third part of the like assignment 10 like as like optional. So if you look at here, I think I made it like optional, and this is only for extra credit. I uploaded the grasshopper file for the description. This is the same one that I just showed. So for the assignment 10, like 1 and 2 are mandatory and 3 is optional. And what else? I think I covered what I wanted to cover in this little tutorial. And uh like you guys are always welcome to ask any questions, so I will try to follow up with the questions. Okay, then bye. Thank you.